A lot of people forget the fact that women spend a lot more than men when it comes to discretionary spending, meaning money spent on things that are not absolutely necessary. Basically, pleasure spending. In some cases in the world, it's been noted that women make up to 80% of discretionary spending on planet Earth. Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, a lot of you know this, and generally speaking, advertising reflects this. You ever look at those billboards for, say, vacations? It's almost always a family, and if it's not a family, it's a lone woman, maybe with her girlfriend on a beach just relaxing, right? Because they know, the advertisers, the marketers, that women are much more likely to react to these visual cues, much more likely to want to go on a vacation to begin with. And the same is true for many, many products, clothing, makeup, etc., etc. Women are just more reactive to this, and that's why women are frequently targeted very specifically to spend money, because it wouldn't work nearly as well on men. Men are much more direct about what they want to spend, and they tend to spend less on things that are superfluous. Okay, we know this. This is well documented. But I want to bring this into the realm of thirst traps, in the realm of online exploitation, if you will, of human nature. Because in this space, we frequently talk about what's being done to men, which is absolutely a thing. You have Twitch streamers, you have booby streamers, you have AIs now, and you have all the other things. And most people think this is only happening to males, which is to say, all the money being spent, the notion of manipulating male nature and male loneliness. Well, interestingly enough, it's happening to females too. And this is important to note because I did say at the outset, importantly, that women spend a lot more money when it comes to discretionary spending. And you better believe on a macroscopic scale, not the individual scale, not a local scale, everyone is a target potentially for marketing, and everyone, male or female, is potentially a target for making money off of. It's just a reality. So enter games such as Love and Deep Space, which is a mobile game exclusively tailored to straight women. And this game is making bank. It's already made hundreds of millions of dollars, and it hasn't even been out a year yet. Now, give it a bit of time, and I think the money it's making will go into the billions. It's basically a gotcha game, a mobile game, where women get to have their so-called husbandos, as they refer to them. This is similar to the notion of waifu, apparently. And these guys, these images, are basically chads, usually of the Asian sort, which is to say they have that particular phenotype, they're designed a certain way, and women love that. It is perfectly tailored to female psychology, so there's never any overt eroticism. It's always heavily suggested, which is what women get off on in terms of the erotic. Erotic literature for women is about words and thinking about things rather than the visual stuff, although visual stuff is there for sure, but it's covered, it's subtle, and of course these guys are perfect. They're all tall, they all look like chads, they all give the woman their undivided attention, which is another factor, of course, and the woman doesn't need to do anything. Now, the woman can also design her own character, which women like to do, dress them up, put different clothing on them, but at the end of the day, it is basically a pipeline to female psychology, and it exploits that. And I've seen individual women online saying they've already spent thousands. I'm talking about individual women, singular women spending thousands on this gotcha game. And the game hasn't been out a year, not even a year. So it just goes to show that women are also fair game for this type of psychological exploitation. And no pun intended with fair game. And guess what? The potential for female thirst traps to be profitable might be even greater than the potential with males, because although males provide a steady, reliable source of income and flow of money, pound for pound, so to speak, if you tick the right boxes, if you press the right buttons, women might be able to beat men out in this respect. And people who make these games and people who market things are aware of this, or they should be, right? Because if you want to make money off of human beings, that's what you're going to do. And we see this also in other realms. So a lot of people are not aware of this. I've talked about this before. But fanfic, and specifically female fanfic, because fanfics are overwhelmingly written by women, often as teenagers or young adults. Extremely low quality writing in most cases. Terrible writing in most cases, to be perfectly blunt. But it is perfectly tailored to women's psychology. So it's always about some guy who is exceptional, who somehow takes an interest in this unexceptional woman. And that's exactly what Love and Deep Space does. the guy notices her and realizes that, in fact, she is exceptional, or maybe that she's not exceptional, but he sees that special thing that nobody else sees in her. It's always like that. That's basically the premise of almost every female romance novel, right? There's this guy, a Chad, he's exceptional, he's amazing, he looks great, he has some quality, maybe he's dangerous, maybe he's a warrior, maybe he's a cowboy, maybe he's a vampire, whatever it might be. And he happens to find plain Jane super interesting and sweeps her off her feet, blah, 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 and she's the one to tame him, so to speak. And that's the same principle that operates in a game such as Love and Deep Space. Now, I've also pointed this out in the past, but a lot of people who are concerned with male usage of prawn, which it is claimed desensitizes men to real women and real relationships, which may be possible. Well, I would also say, and I've talked about this before, that female fanfics desensitize women to the relationship they could have with men. Because what female fanfics do is basically the one-to-one thing that prawn does to men. So in male consumption of prawn, men get the suggestion, the idea that women are super, super high in sociosexuality, that they're willing to just jump into things and do pretty much anything, rather than the truth, which is women are very hesitant, they are very picky, they're very choosy. But if you look at prawn, it seems like they'll just screw basically anyone or anything, and it is claimed that warps men's minds, and therefore they get the wrong impression, and it warps their expectations, potentially even permanently. That's the claim being made. There's probably some truth to it. But conversely, imagine reading really low-quality erotic fanfic written by 17, 18, 19-year-old girls, where you have a similar effect. You have these guys who are Chads or near perfect or what have you, who all of a sudden are interested in playing Jane. And imagine absorbing that again and again and again. In fact, it gets even worse than that. There's some types of fan fiction called slasher fan fiction. Mind you, it has nothing to do with actual slashing, knives, swords, that sort of thing. That involves basically two guys usually who are ostensibly gay, but because of the power of playing Jane, the female protagonist, the female main character, they actually change their sexual orientation for her sake. And here's the other kicker when it comes to female fanfiction. The men are Chadly in all this, but they also seem to display, weirdly enough, female sensibilities and sensitivities. So they're going to talk about things inanely. They're going to talk a lot about their emotions and their feelings. They're going to notice things that males never notice, like the bracelet or the earrings that the girl might be wearing. So you basically have this conjoining of all the quote-unquote best traits that women like in men, the chadliness, the looks, the bravery, the daringness, combined with female qualities like oversharing of emotions, talking about things that are relatively unimportant, like the floral patterns on the girl's dress, or the new ring that she bought, or the new shoes that she bought, things of that nature. Now, imagine again, as a young female, you're reading this, you're consuming this, and there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pages of this sort of fan fiction out there that has been written, very low quality, like I said, that has been written for women and tailored to young women's minds. And you consume all of this, what do you start thinking? Well, you think that men are actually like this, that they're somehow a combination of ultra gigachad, metrosexual, with all the sensibilities and sensitivities of women. And then when these women actually meet non-fictional men, there's a chilling effect. Because what do you expect? It's the same thing that happens when men who consume a lot of prawn meet real women, and they're very skittish, they're not nearly as adventurous, they're picky and reluctant. Well, it turns out that straight men are not like the men that are depicted in fan fiction written for and by exclusively women. And this is why a game such as Love and Deep Space, or various analogs that are probably in the making, or any sort of exploitation of female sexual psychology, has a lot more potential than the male variant. Because let's be honest, when it comes to prawn, you're blowing your load, you're done, you don't think about it for a couple hours, maybe a whole day, whatever. That's it. It's kind of a wham bam, thank you ma'am episode, so to speak, although you're by yourself in most cases, in these instances. With women, it's this long, drawn-out affair. It's something to think about all the time, over and over and over, which I would argue lends itself to them spending more money potentially on various things. They're certainly more involved in it. Some of them write, as I said, hundreds of thousands of pages of schlocky fan fiction. And there are entire cottage industries of this. Always romance novels, but with various fictional settings. There's this woman named Sarah J. Maas. She claims that she's a fantasy author. In reality, she's just a smut and romance author, but she has some fairies and some fictional stuff in her writing. Things of that nature. And this woman makes bank off of exploiting her fellow women's sexual psychology. Imagine if you have video games that could do this too. Imagine if you had AI that could tap into the female market. Because I guarantee you, long term, the potential to make money is probably just as great, if not greater in some cases, than it is with men. Of course, whales exist in both the male and female population. And in case you're not aware of what a whale is, it's simply a person who spends a lot of money on online games, specifically mobile games. I'm telling you that, if anything, women are more susceptible to this sort of thing if you push the right buttons. And people out there, marketers, advertisers, game makers, they know this. And I can very much see a future going forward where this is a serious issue for women and it can't simply be ignored. And people are going to be forced to talk about it because they're going to have the same issues, basically, only for them that men allegedly have with prawn. The female thirst trap is real, and I'm telling you, it's going to get bigger and bigger. Because at the end of the day, all these people out there care about is making money. If they can make money off of men, women, it doesn't matter. That's the name of the game. Anyway, as always, thank you for tuning in. Many special thanks to my generous patrons and donors on PayPal. You guys are the best. You guys are absolutely indispensable. Thank you so much for your generosity. And if you can hit the bell icon to be reminded of my videos, it'd be much appreciated. If you can do the usual YouTube jazz of liking the video, sharing the video, subbing, leaving a comment, it'd be much appreciated. If I'm still alive, I'll check you out next time. Until then, may the gods watch over you. Bye-bye for now.
If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.